Okay, so let's go over how we can make a graphical wall type section schedule using actual wall elements, rename the type mark, and also build the type name using the structure of the wall. This works by running Dynamo player, running your wall type section schedule script, and then if you want to rename type and type marks, if you untick this, it'll be your naming convention to the type mark. And then if you want to create the graphical section schedule or just rename type and type marks, we can exclude certain walls if we want. That may be a wall category but not an actual wall. We would pick a wall type template, sheet number start, sheet title, title block, schedule tag, and the project phase that our walls are in. So if we ran this, we would get the output we have already. I just want to go over a few things you need to know for it to work correctly. So after running that script, it'll create the views, create the sheets it needs, and put them on the sheet. What it's doing is taking all your walls in the phase you selected, modeling them in a content phase, which you'll need to create before the existing phase in your project, lining them up, and then dimensioning them as we saw in the other view. To get the correct size of your graphical schedule that will suit your title blocks, you'll need to set up the defaults in Dynamo. So you can do this by going into Dynamo, one-time setup, freeze the wall creation and the view creation, set this to false, and then we can turn it to automatic. And what we can see is the Dynamo processing in the background. So there's our frame and where the walls will be put. So ideally, I probably would have put the landscape and portrait title block together. And so the height of our schedule we would actually need is 448. So we come in here and max space down sheet. We can change this to 448. So it's the correct height. And then we can adjust our max space along the sheet, the wall offset from the center to right. And that's for our annotation space. And then we can set out the space below wall for description, and then space above wall for dimension and type mark tag. And then also our type mark space between box. So once you have those set out, you're good to go. Turn this back to manual, unfreeze these, set this to true again. Oh my God. And then you would exit and save. So this places the walls. You would still need to put in your detail items over the wall and tag them off to the left here. It dimensions them, and if the dimension is overlapping the other one on the outside, it'll pull it out to the side for you. I also just need to note it draws detail lines over the wall layers to dimension to. So if your wall thickness does change, be wary of that. It's really difficult to dimension to wall geometry in Dynamo. Now, the other thing I just want to explain is how this naming function works. We've got our type mark in the wall type name, and this always is prefixed with W for wall, and then the next letter is P for partition. So how this groups your walls for naming is inside we have the wall assembly description. So what it takes is the first letter of that first word to group your walls. So it'll group WP and make all your partition walls together. You could have partition steel fire rated, and then that would also name, when it's naming the type name, would put that in the end here, partition one way, as a description as well to help with search terms. So you can see like with this, it's partition steel, but it's still grouping all the partition walls together. So if you created another one, it would go into the WP section at the end. It also, so after it's grouped them by that wall type assembly, then it'll order them by the thickness of the core. So after it's put the type mark and the type name, it does the wall build-up. So we've got C for core, E for exterior, and I for interior. And that's grabbing all this information from here. So it's pulling from the thickness here to put in that input. And then it's using an acronym in the material itself. So in your materials, I've added a shared parameter called acronym. You can put the acronym of that material in here, and then it'll come up in that type name. Just for this example, I used AI. I got it to grab the first letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word, make that first letter uppercase, make that second letter lowercase, and then put it into the acronyms. So depending how you've done your material naming conventions, this could be quite easy to update the acronym for everything using Dynamo and AI. How you want them, you would have to go through and decide how you want all your walls and things to group together. So you could have concrete as the core name, and then your concrete in situ, concrete and lightcrete, concrete precast. I mean, do you want this brick, or do you want this under masonry and everything under masonry? That's stuff for you guys to decide as a company. But I reckon this is a pretty clear, good wall name. And then as your project goes, you can run this and just name things off by the wall build-up, then painfully putting it in yourself. For the tag, the first time you run the script, I'll just put one that shows where the center is, then edit the tag, put the type mark up here and the description down here, make sure it's all lined up, then rerun it with this tag and everything will look fine. For me personally, I think most projects, a schedule with a wall type and a description is enough, but I know a lot of people really like the graphical schedules as well.